Good evening, everyone. I am Akatya, and with me I have Rahul and Madhav Sai, who would be your moderators for the evening. Welcome to the much awaited panel discussion on student expertise in research, innovation, and social service by none other than Medinway 2020. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all here today and to thank you for taking the time out from your busy lives and the work in your home countries to make effort to attend this interactive session. Well, I cannot wait to introduce our esteemed panel for today's session, and without wasting any time, let's have our first panelist. Thank you.
So, so let me introduce our first panelist for the day, that is Dr. Faizal Navasa, who is a fifth-year medical student at Mohammed bin Rashid University, Dubai. He is also strategy lead at Clinician Engineer Hub UK and Research Intern at Al Jalila Children Hospital UAE. He has also been speaker at the Emirates Society of Mental Health International Congress and also participated in a 3-day summit organized by Mayo Clinic, American Hospital of Dubai, and MBRU. With so much experience in research, innovation, and social service, it's really an honor for us, sir, to have you today for the session. So, without wasting any further time, I would request Faisal, sir, to guide us with the few words. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rahul and Akatya, for this wonderful introduction. And it's been a privilege, actually, to be a part of a promising conference in the form of Medinway 2020. I've seen a couple of great speakers, one after the other, over the last 2 days. And it's honestly an honor to be a part of this panel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So,
As we move on to the next speaker, we have Nicole Dietrich Hosny. She is an MD PhD student at the Paulista School of Medicine, Federal University of Sao Paulo. She's also a visiting PhD scholar at the Perelman School of Medicine, University of Pennsylvania. She's currently working on a research objective, which is chromatin structure alterations in diabetic kidney disease by ATAC sequence in human kidney samples. We're so delighted to have you, ma'am. Please humble us with a few motivating words. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Sorry. Sorry. So it's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I hope we'll have a great session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. We do have a few questions for you, if you would answer. So the first question is that could you please brief us on the research objective you are working on, and how did you start, and what was your aim to achieve?
So my research objective, so like as you spoke like briefly, I work with chromatin alterations in diabetic kidney disease in human samples. So diabetic kidney disease has this whole word behind it. I won't like keep speaking about my disease. It's not interesting for everyone, but there's a lot of work on epigenetics on it. And we hope to find like good information about it and maybe try to find some targets to treat this disease. But on how did I start, I think this one is more interesting for everybody. So I started really from like the ground regarding research. I started with questionnaire, like very simple tests, and then I moved to bench work and like regular PCR and blotting and so on, and then real-time PCR for the next steps. And then now I'm working with next generation sequencing. So I believe that research is like break after break and step-by-step baby step stuff. So don't be afraid to start with a very small piece of work, and then you will very probably improve if you want to keep in this path. So that's my message regarding this question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So considering your project, how did you overcome the practical barriers in the study, such as, ethical issues, long-term follow-up plans, or, fund barriers? How did you manage all of these?
So, of course, every research, especially involving human tissue or human like people, you have to be approved by an ethical committee. So it's also always very important to make sure you did all correctly and be approved by your institution. And regarding funds, I always have the belief that we always need to try all scholarships available. Like always someone will get this scholarship, so why it cannot be you? So always try and don't be afraid to try all the opportunities you have. So for my research, I got a scholarship from my country, so from the government, and so it's always you always need to try. But for the research itself, it's a matter of the supervisor, so we don't really need to worry about it. But like it's important always to look for a supervisor that has funding, has grants to like pay for the research you're going to do. So it's an important thing to think about. But always try the scholarships from both public and private institutions. Don't lose any opportunity.
Thank you so much. So my next question, deals with the same topic, which is that how do you feel that this study which you have been doing, will bring a kind of a change or help in the existing knowledge about diabetic kidney disease?
So since it's next generation sequencing, we get a lot of information, like really a lot of information from each sample we are studying. So we can extract much from that. So we have DNA, whole genome sequencing, RNA-seq sequencing, and RNA sequencing, and ATAC, what you said. So this one is a more recent one. It was developed in 2013. And from these three assays from each sample we have, we can really extract a lot of information. So I'm very hopeful. We are working on the bioinformatic analysis right now, and I'm very excited to have the results soon. So I feel that we'll have great information about that. And I won't keep speaking about it because it's not interesting for everybody.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Also, in your as you said that you've been a MD PhD student. So why don't you tell our medical students that what does MD PhD mean, and could you please elaborate on that, because I think this is something new to us.
Yes, this is something that I think it's interesting for all of you. So what is an MD PhD program? So it has a lot of medical schools in US have that, and we have some in Brazil, including mine. So we do half, like part of our MD school, like medical school. So in my case, I did the first 4 years. After finishing those 4 years, we stop and start doing the PhD. So some schools have it for 4 years, 3 years, and it depends on each program. And then when after defending your thesis, you go back to medical school and finish it. So for me, it will be more 2 years after finishing the PhD. So this is a very interesting program because it intends to bring physicians close to basic sciences. So that's the whole goal of this program. It's not like easy because you're doing your PhD before having a degree, so it's not an easy task, but it works. You will probably do your PhD in a smaller time. You will not be working yet, so you're not be a physician. You're not doing night shifts. You're not having children, so you're not married. So it's you have your whole time to spend on your PhD. So you do it in a smaller amount of time usually. So I really am a fan of this program. So, and you can like maybe bring this idea to your universities, and maybe you can start this in your university as well.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much. I think this is something so interesting to hear, and I think many medical students would want to pursue this now. My last question for you would be that, in today's world where research is constantly evolving and new techniques and advances are developing, what is your take on moving ahead and coping up with this transition?
So this is difficult questions to to say something. So I believe, like, most of you are healthcare students. So I believe that trying to bring clinical aspects of your patients in your basic science research will bring the best of what your research can deliver to the work and to people and to patients. So never forget to bring clinical aspects to your basic science work. I think this is very important, and I'm trying to do that in my work as well. So this is how I'm trying to cope it up. So that's my message.
So, ma'am, so like, as you said that, doing MD and PhD was like a kind of a tough experience and, it was not very easy. So how did you manage, like, your study and life balance? Like, if you could, like, throw some light on that.
So one thing which is like practical, and I think people can do it, maybe it's like to keep your routine exercise and routine, like to take care on what you eat, and don't let research and your overload work to have an impact on that. So like when I don't exercise and I let my work get over it, and it gets a mess, completely a mess. So I think people always need to take care of their bodies and minds to get the best work done. So this
And
is
I think, yes,
what I would
absolutely.
suggest.
Absolutely, because a healthy mind is a healthy body. So I totally agree with it. Also, ma'am, so the audience wants to know that what is your suggestion to young budding researchers or medical students of today?
What is my suggestion? So I think always try to talk with your older partners in medical school, like those who already been through research, and see how they did in your university to start. Like did they talk to any specific professor, or like there's any physician that is into research and would like to help newer students in very small researchers, or how can you collaborate in other people's research and so on. So like proactivity, I think it's the best thing in this path to make it grow.
Yes, ma'am, and I totally agree. You should always ask and get it done.
Yes.
So I think we are done with the questions, ma'am. It was really great to know your perspective and to know so many moving. And now I think we are totally motivated. And thank you so much for your time. We
Please
now
feel
move.
free, everyone, please, if you need to ask any questions, you can contact me. I think Tarum has my email, so feel free. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you so much. Now we move on to the next panelist. Rahul, please, over to you.
So let me introduce our next panelist for the day. That is Dr. Faizal Navasa. He is a fifth-year medical student at Mohammed bin Rashid University, UAE. He is also a strategy lead at Clinician Engineer Hub, UK, and Research Intern at Al Zalila Children Hospital, UAE. He has also been the speaker at Emirates Society of Mental Health International Congress, and also participated in a 3-day summit organized by Mayo Clinic, American Hospital of Dubai, and MBRU. With so much experience in research, innovation, and social service, it's a really honor to have you, sir, with us for today. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. So let me ask you my first question. Sir, what was your motivation to go for such an amazing work that you have done?
Well, thank you again, Rahul, for the introduction and the kind question. I don't have really one straight answer for this. So when I look back at myself, I mean, currently I'm a fifth-year medical student, but starting off this journey, I was always an average student. I was never one of those high achieving toppers kind of a student, and I think because of that, I had this need inside me to go beyond just the books and the exams. And it gave me a need to sort of stand out in any way that I can. And because of that, I started to think beyond the medical curriculum. So once I had that open mind that there is so much more we can achieve, if we look beyond just our standard exams and tests and the core curriculum, that is when I think the self-growth started. And it started with that and then led on to great mentorship around finding the right people, the right mentors. And I think that's where opportunities started to show up in different areas. And I think that is how I really tried to grow myself in different paths. And a big part of this is also to know the concept of self-branding, which is to really showcase yourself beyond just being a medical student. And I'm saying this because even though many students would see this as uh, promotion or marketing, but no one out there is going to really give you the spotlight other than yourself. No one is going to speak for you other than yourself. So it's important to stand out. Everyone is going to complete their medical school one day. Everyone will become doctors one day. But what really makes us stand out is what have we done and become beyond that medical student tag.
Thanks a lot, sir, for such an amazing answer. So my next question would be, some many students can't find the balance between the extracurricular activities and studies. So how you find, like, how you came to like balance things, like you are doing so much things and studying also at the same time. So can you please enlighten us on that?
So that's a very good question, Rahul. And I don't think there is an easy answer to that either. So I personally, even now, after all these years, I still struggle, and it's still a challenge to always keep that fine balance that you've mentioned between keeping up with your medical school and doing everything else around it. The two things that I think really helped me was, number one, not to see them as two separate things. I think being a medical student is more than just following your core curriculum. And once you see it all as part of your growth as a student, you will stop to see the extracurricular activities that we say as a burden on you. In fact, you would see that as a part of your journey as a medical student. Having said that, I think it's also important to know your priorities. So at all times, I personally try to keep a check on my priorities, be it every few weeks or every few months, just to know if I am staying and going in the right direction, that I'm not giving priority to something that in that time should not be getting that much attention. And keeping that check on yourself at all times, I think is one good strategy to try to balance this situation. Another thing that has helped me is to focus on getting minor opportunities. So by minor opportunities, I mean any small opportunity you find is something that takes you forward. So because it's a small opportunity or a small project that you work on, it means that you don't have a lot of pressure on you. And when you don't have a lot of pressure, you have the space to balance your studies with it. It might seem overwhelming that when you gave my introduction, it looked as if I had a list of things going on at the same time, but rather this is a collection of things, the minor projects, the minor opportunities that started coming one after the other. And because you take the small ones, it builds up to something bigger in the future. So I hope that also helped. One last thing would be, what really helped me balance is to keep a support system around me. This means having people and being open to feedback from people about how you're doing. And that means that even though you are trying to balance your life, your priorities, sometimes we can't see that clearly. And being open to advice, being open to support goes a long way in maintaining that balance.
That was really amazing and informative, sir. Thanks a lot. So my next question would be, sir, you have been awarded Happiness Catalyst Award. So can you please let us know how does it feel to be the recipient of such a prestigious award, and what are your sources of motivation and positivity?
Thank you again, Rahul. And so the Happiness Catalyst Award was an award given to me in my third year of medical school. And it came as a surprise because this is a student nominated award, which means that collectively the university students vote for one student to have this award. And this award is given to someone who has instilled a sense of positivity and support in the environment around. And I think that is what I've always tried to go for, which is to keep a positive environment around you. When you treat everyone positively, you yourself grow in that sense. So just keeping that attitude of happiness and positivity, despite how difficult times can get, I think leaves an impression on people. And because of that, the friends, the faculty, the supporting people around, they notice when you try to help. So I think being sharing and being collaborative has been a huge player in receiving this award. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. So my next question would be, in today's world when mental health is one of the major issue we are facing as a community, and you have been collaborated with the Al Zalila Children Hospital for mental health. So sir, can you please let us know that what are the problems you faced and what are the possible solutions to this mental health issue that we are facing as a community?
Right. So I'm really happy that you've posed this question, because even though this is asked on so many platforms, we still are not where we should be in terms of mental health in the community. And what I've tried to do is understand some of the things that exist within our community. And by community, I mean the student community, the healthcare community, the general community. By being involved in research at Al Jalila Children's, I've had the opportunity to learn from some great mentors. And I think doing research in that way opens your mind to understanding some of the challenges that we face in society. So with regards to mental health, I think something that we generally are seeing as a global crisis is that number one, the strong stigma that lies with mental health. And when I say stigma, I mean the simple no's when you know yourself that you need to take a break, the simple absent leaves that sometimes you might need because you need some time for yourself, or it could be the concept of self-care that isn't practiced enough around us. So this is the stigma that we're looking at. I don't think when we say stigma in mental health, it should mean that I talk about mental health and then someone says no. I don't think that happens. What happens is this background, subtle, hidden stigma, which is in fact, unfortunately, even from us in a way, and even as the healthcare community, we have a long way to go in trying to promote the awareness about mental health. So this means from medical students all the way to physicians, researchers, and practically everyone in the hospital and the healthcare field. We need to collectively come together to actually look out for each other, but more importantly, look out for ourselves. And once we do that at all levels of learning, I think we will come closer to solving the root cause of this crisis.
Thanks a lot, sir. That was really enlightening answer. So my next question would be, so what are some of your better and good experiences that you had during your work? Any
Right.
experience you would like to share?
So I don't know how many I can share, and if a few hours could be given, I could go on for that list. But I think uh, everyone goes through bittersweet moments and challenges. So uh, I think we need to speak about them more, and we should actually be represented by both our achievements and the times that have made us grow to have those achievements. So I am a huge advocate for trying to speak out for any problems that I go through. And I think there have been a lot from an academic level trying to adjust into the medical school life that we all go through. So in my case, I moved to a different city, away from family and everyone, to join medical school. And that meant really trying to live on my own for the first time. And this means something as simple as my own food or my own lifestyle had to be managed by myself. And this was one of the biggest steps that I had to actually take in being more independent. I also had come from a segregated school, which means that uh, the male students and the female students would be in separate classes. And this created a big social barrier as well when I entered medical school, where medical school was a co-ed environment. And this meant that even something, I mean, it sounds funny now that I think about it, but just simply talking to the opposite gender would be one of the biggest challenges that I would face. And the Faisal you would have met 4 years ago is a complete different person than who's talking to you right now. So having said that, I think from an academic level to a social level, um, and even I think from a mental health level, learning to understand when it's too much and when to take a step back was something that was difficult for me. And sometimes I've had to really, I think, face a bit of the burnout experience that we sometimes describe in medical school, where we have too many things going on, and then because of that, we don't do anything. So learning from these experiences was important, and I'm glad I could speak about them as well.
Thanks a lot, sir. That was really amazing answer. So my last question would be, any message or any advice you would like to give to young aspiring medicos or medical students?
So first of all, I love talking to young students. And I think everyone is a young student, be it a fifth year or a first year. And I have a lot to say, but in something that I think if I had to pick a few things, it would be try to learn the soft skills of becoming a better version of yourself. By soft skills, I mean how to network, how to seek opportunities, how to talk to your patient, how to talk to doctors, researchers. If we're not working on these, then after our 5-6 years of medical school, we might not have much to show to the world, and that's where we might struggle. So, how can we do this? We can do this by knowing that every doctor was once a medical student, every researcher was once a student, and trust me, they always love talking to you whenever there's an exciting student who comes up to them. So don't hold yourself back if you have a good idea to share, or if you'd like an opportunity to work with. And always share, always collaborate. I cannot emphasize on the importance of sharing, being supportive to each other. I would not have come where I am today if it wasn't for this attitude of sharing and helping others. Like I said, I've always been an average student, and the only way an average student could survive and grow is by helping in any way possible. So I always advise people to share and collaborate. I earlier mentioned the concept of self-branding. So it is important to stand out on your own, which means use anything that helps you. And one of the most powerful tools which all of us have today is social media. And it is a resource that will take you a far, far way forward in anything in life. I have had tons of opportunities, from international conferences to research projects, that would not have been possible without social media. So show yourself out there. There is no harm in being happy about your achievements, and work on your skills, the soft skills, like I mentioned.
Thanks a lot, sir. That were really amazing answers, and thanks a lot for sharing your knowledge and time with us. We are really honored to have you, sir. So with this, we move to our next panelist. Over to you, Akatya.
Thank you, Rahul. With this, we move on to our third panelist, which is Mr. Vivek Podar. He is a final year medical student from Bangladesh. He is a hardworking, compassionate, motivated, and energetic student with an excellent academic and clinical track record, research experience, and a significant contribution to the medical education, and a passion for health and greater interest in the patient. He has extensive experience in peer reviewing, conducting and publishing research, writing scientific articles, developing evidence summaries, medical books and chapters, and working on different medical education projects. He has published over 25 research articles, 6 books and book chapters, 2 blog articles, and 160 evidence summaries. He has been a scientific writer at the Joanna Briggs Institute and Evidence Aid. He has involved in peer reviewing research articles for the Nature, Diabetes Research and Clinical Practice, the British Journal, Journal of Medical Internet Research, Journal of Health Psychology, Cochrane Infectious Diseases, Annals of Neurosciences, Medical Education, Qualitative Health Research, International Journal of Medical Sciences. In addition to peer review, he has worked on different medical projects, including for Osmosis, Lecturio, First Aid for USMLE Step 1 and USMLE RX question banks. He is envisioning a long-term career as an internist, medical educationist, and a clinical researcher. We are so privileged to have you on board, sir.
Thank you, Akatya, for introducing me, and thanks for inviting me to this Made in Bed program. I'm so grateful because through this program I can express my voice to wider audience. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. And as your journey has been so spectacular, we have a few questions for you, and it would be great if you could answer them for us. So my first question for you is that as many medical students find it extremely difficult as how to begin with research, what would be your advice to the budding researchers? And can you please share your journey in research?
Yeah, sure. Before I answer that how students should approach to begin their journey in the research, I would like to share my journey so students can, those who are listening to me, can appreciate what it takes to be a researcher. So as every medical students go into the medicine because of a desire to help others and improve patients' physical and mental condition. And what and how in early career of in early years of medical school, you may find that you are not making much difference to patient care. But what happens in involvement in research can provide exciting opportunities and can help you in working in a team, in a multidisciplinary team. But I didn't started my didn't started my research journey as a researcher. I just wanted to understand the problems of the patient. So I just tried to search for opportunities around the world, so I can learn more about the patients. So in the same process, when I was looking for, when I was trying to find opportunities in a global platform, I found that there are some elective programs in India, and at the same time, I want to say, when I was attending a conference, I heard for the first time that there is a term called case report, and you will be surprised that I never knew what is case report, how it is made, and how it can help me. So I was just wondering, what is case report? Many people are expressing their and presenting their case report in the conference, and in most of the time, and I was just nothing. I mean, when they are presenting case report, I was just thinking how.
Akatya?
Yes, I think Vivek's a lost connection.
Vivek?
Yeah, mother, once try to
His
reach
screen
you.
has
Yes. I'll back. Akatya, I guess Vivek might join once again. Meanwhile, we have one question to Nicole. Can you ask that question? I've
yeah,
messaged you.
yeah. So, ma'am, for you, we have an audience question, which is, Do we have to take master's degree first, or there is another program in which a medical graduate can enter PhD program directly after MD? I really appreciate if you give us some information on this. Ma'am, you're on mute.
So in Brazil, we have this option to be approved by a committee to start directly the PhD without doing the master's first. So I don't know if in India this is possible, or in the US, I don't know if this is a possibility. But in Brazil, we have this option. So you have to apply and be approved by a committee from your university to skip the masters, depending on your background research during undergrad school and so on. So
Thank you.
maybe it's an option also for you.
Thank you. I hope this answer has helped the audience. So are we waiting for Vivek,
Yes,
sir?
yes. Okay, let's go with another panelist, and then we'll have Vivek once again. I was okay. Do we have Brahmaramba? Okay, okay. Yeah. So, hello, Brahmaramba. It's very nice to see you here. Uh,
Yeah,
welcome,
thank
guys.
you.
This is Madhav Sai. I would be taking the next panelist. Meanwhile, Vivek would join us and help us. Okay, let me introduce our next panelist. She is Kulli Lakshmi Brahmaramba. She is pursuing her anesthesiology and intensive care in Nizam Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad.
Okay.
She has completed her MBBS from Pinnamneni Siddhartha, Andhra Pradesh. I would say it's my own college. So yeah, and she has also coming to her achievements, it all started when she started volunteering for Chinmay Mission's health camps, where she started for it started with free health checkups and distributing medications, and also door to door healthcare patient education. uh, Post that, she is the pioneers of Sparsh, which is students of PCMs to achieve awareness and reach out to social and sustainable health. It's a student medical organization that promotes awareness on the unspoken social barriers that succumb many innocent lives. She's talking about breast cancer, menstrual hygiene, and depression. So far, it has created awareness among 25,000 rural women. That is only in a particular place, guys. It's not across the country. It is only from a particular place, and also youth, and 5,000 youth with regards to depression. It's the first ever organization in the state of Andhra Pradesh, India, to create awareness on menstrual hygiene to boys in an attempt to break the barrier. Later, this idea was taken by state's health organization called MEPMA, along with the Spurs volunteers as a resource persons, that has created awareness to approximately 1 lakh people across the state. She is also a founder of Samyuk, and youth-based organization that supports underprivileged, talented children, nourishes the selfless humanity in youth, and aim to make these volunteers a global leaders. She believes that leaders are not born, they are made. So she continues trying to bring out the leadership in them and give the country the best leaders who make it healthy and developed in the coming years. We welcome you, Brahmaramba.
Thank you so much, Madam Sai. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Well, coming to your questions, I have always looked up to you, and it was whenever I see you doing something, it is always an inspiring for me. So, but what made you go into this social work?
And then, actually, it will be like every person pursuing medical school or who is aspiring for becoming a doctor will have inbuilt attitude of social service. But being fear of criticism, they'll not come out. But what actually happened is back in 2016, when we are doing door-to-door health awareness campaigns, we actually accidentally found a girl sitting sadly outside her home. Our volunteers, we repeatedly asked her what is she going through. But at last, we could get an answer that she is suffering from period pain and that there is no one to whom she can share with or she can relieve her pain because she lost her mother when she was uh, maybe 8 years old or so. And that in India, particularly, we have this social stigma of speaking on menstrual hygiene to fathers or brothers. So she cannot share this with her father. So she's in bad struggling. She's badly struggling with her period pain, and also that she's not at all using pads, and she's using what she was used were cloths, uh, unstained clothes actually. So we tried convincing her. At last, we could convince her by saying this thing that periods are natural and so is the pain. So that gave us ignition that we have to break we have to break this barrier. But then we didn't start from there. I in 2016 October only, when October everyone of us know it's pink month. Everywhere we could see pink color, pink walk, pink ribbons, everything. But that is related only to urban areas. But I think like that, or awareness programs will not be there for rural people. And the second thing is that mortality rates of breast cancer or menstrual issues are more from rural areas. So myself, my friends had this idea that why can't we educate people on this, rural people? So we went to our professors with this idea. Luckily, our professor and principal were very supportive, and they even advised us to take menstrual hygiene also as a part of our program. And they only insisted us to start first.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember the moment when Spurs was getting announced. I was in the gallery sitting,
Hmm.
but yeah, obviously, I couldn't do anything at that time. But it's very great to see that you have grown from there to here. I know the topics which you have picked, whether it is depression or the menstrual hygiene, these are, extremely stigmatic topics, and
Yes.
you would have faced a lot of difficulties and a lot of limitations. So, what were those difficulties and limitations during this work that you have been doing?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, like creating awareness to 25,000 or 1 lakh is not that easy. So our target was high, like being a medical student to balance studies and to the work of your interest is obviously very difficult. So it was very difficult for us. The first difficult that or the limitation that we faced is the topic that we have chosen, because this is not a topic like people speak on like openly. Like many people would have invited us to speak on diabetes and hypertension, but none of them even allowed us to speak on topics like menstrual hygiene and breast cancer, because they had a fear that letting us speak on these topics might uh, damage their reputation and defame us. So it was very difficult for us to convince them and to tell them that these are the topics that we have to speak, and these are not the topics that we should not keep whispering or not to answer.
Thank you so much, Brahmaramba. I understand the difficulties, but I also know that there are so many organizations that are being actually working on, similar lines. But what makes you different from all of these organizations?
Madhasai, as you're aware of most of the organizations that, I mean, we have seen, you might also have gone through those organizations. Actually, what happens is every organization, like all organizations which have been working with breast cancer or menstrual hygiene or urban centric. Back then in 2016, as far as we know, there is no organization in the state of Andhra Pradesh educating women on breast cancer or menstrual hygiene. And that is one thing. And the second thing is that most of the organizations, as I told earlier, are urban centric. There is no organization working for rural people. And second thing is that most of the work most of the work done by us is field work and not superficial. So we used to go door to door, one-on-one interaction. So this is quite different from other organizations. And also that our volunteers, luckily, they own our organization. Uh, when you look at other organizations, there will be one leader and rest are followers or volunteers. But in our organization, they own our organization as their own. And so, actually, when you own an organization, the work you do for it is absolutely different.
Yes, thank you for pointing out. I still remember that. I know that you were the pioneer of this organization, and when you have completed the term of the organization, and I suppose you were at the time leaving our college, you have handed over the entire responsibility of the organization to the younger batch of students. That
Yeah.
itself tells that it's a student-owned organization where it's just it's just one organization is going from one hands to the other hands, and but the work that is going is continuously being repeated. It's very, but it's very good. I mean, the number of people you have reached out, it's not, some random 1,000 or 1,500. You yourself has reached to 25,000 people, and whereas with the help of state you have reached to 1 lakh people. But 25,000 is not a small number. And
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
No,
Yes,
yeah, now you are.
Hello?
yes, sir, you're
Yeah,
audible.
Madhav.
Hello?
Yeah, Madhav, you are audible. Please go on. Yeah, I think he has a network
Hello?
issue. Yeah, Madhav.
Yeah, okay. So sorry, guys. I just forgot the question, but let me recall it. Yeah. So then I was talking about numbers. Uh,
Mm.
yeah. So we would, I mean, 25,000, it's not a small number. It's a very huge number to be saying. And that is also, I remember we have covered the villages that were present among
Mm.
surrounding our college. So what were the strategies you have used for the better outreach and the engagement of your target population?
Like having a target and achieving it is obviously the important thing. But in order to achieve it, the strategies that we adopt are more important. So first believed in this, and so we had this strategy because the topics we selected were completely different. So we should have the proper strategy. Our strategy is on one end we used to create awareness on breast cancer and menstrual hygiene to rural people, like from door to door education, because most of them will not listen, like will not even come when we ask them to come, like listen to this topic, because they feel like this is not the topic that should be spoken. So we used to go door to door or face to face interactions we used to have. So then, from the other end, breaking the barrier is most important. So we used to break the barrier through creating many challenges. We used to effectively use social media in breaking these barriers. Like uh, some examples, if I have to quote, we used to have like uh, we arranged Brothers in Blue campaign and the Gift a Backpack Challenge campaign. Gift a Backpack Challenge campaign, as the name indicates, a person had to gift a backpack to a person. I think Madhavsa, you have done this. You have
Yes,
participated in this. And the
yes, yes.
second thing is that I wanted to speak on Brothers in Blue campaign. In India, we celebrate brother and sister bond as Raksha Bandhan. On this day, brothers promise sisters that they take care of them and their happiness. To this festival, actually, we added something else. That is, brothers should come in blue shirts, which means that he himself is giving an indication to his sister that from now on his sister can speak to him or share her period pain with his brother. Actually, this helped us, and as much as 50 to 100 brothers have participated in this. So we think at least we have done something in breaking this barrier.
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course, the campaigns which you have organized, and which would also sometimes make me think how I should think and treat them, or I mean, that was definitely, I would say, an interesting learning rather than a learning experience, a thoughtful experience. I would be thinking on my actions or what I was doing from these campaigns. That is what I learned. But when you are actually doing such an amazing work, you always have the best and the bitter experiences that you might be having. Let's start with a sweet experience that you had and that you would like to share with the audience.
So obviously, the best experience is that like when we are creating awareness on breast cancer, this gave us immense satisfaction actually. In 2017, we created awareness in youngsters also, young students. So like we created awareness in some college, I don't remember actually which it is. So we created awareness to them. After a couple of months or so, one girl actually came to us and she was like expressing her gratitude towards our organization. Like then we asked what has happened and all. Then she told that after listening to our lectures or our program, she has taken her mother to a consultant. Then they found, luckily or fortunately, they have found her mother to be in stage 1 of breast carcinoma, and they started her own treatment. So I think our main motto is to diagnose breast carcinoma at the earlier stages, so many lives could be saved. So when she told us this, we thought our goal, our main motto, we have reached to some extent. Uh, so yeah, this is our best experience, and I wanted to share other ones if I can. Can I share?
Yeah, please go ahead, please.
So actually, like these barriers are not only to the rural areas, but these barriers are also present in the educated community, particularly even in the medical stream, speaking on menstrual hygiene. So after 1 year of these awareness program, randomly one of my friends came to me and told that thanks for this wonderful campaign. You don't know how much it made me to change. Before I used to feel very shy to go to a medical pharmacy and buy my set of pads. But today, after this campaign and after volunteering this campaign, today I can go to the medical pharmacy and bring my pads without any shy, because this is just a physiological process and I need not feel shy about it. So I think in order to bring a change in the community, we have to bring change within us. So I think we have done that.
When you hello, am I audible?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when you were talking about the experience, I could really understand. You are not only impacting one person, but you are impacting a whole family, because we
Yeah.
know that mothers are the strong and the foundation pillars. That means that you have helped a total family, and knowing that would be, I mean, it's a wonderful thing. But now I'm asking the other part, which I know you have faced a lot. What is your bitter experience, during this field of work that you have done? I know there are many,
Obvious,
but Please share
Yeah.
one experience,
Uh,
not more than that.
so, yeah, I'll confine to one. Actually, bitter experiences means obviously when we are starting an organization, we'll have the bitter ones. So there are many people there are many these bitter experiences are from the highly educated individuals because they have to support us and guide us. But instead of doing so, they try to weaken our campaign. But because our volunteers are very strong and so they have never taken this, so they even try to defame us. So this is all that I wanted to share.
I can understand, whenever we are trying to do good thing, a lot of negative things come into the picture. But I really appreciate your strong commitment towards the work that you were doing, and you, instead of having all these difficulties, also you have surpassed this. I really appreciate it and congratulate you. But now I would like
Thank
to
you.
ask the final questions. What are your suggestions for present day healthcare students towards social service?
So actually, many of us will have this intention that we want to serve many people, but maybe because of the fear of criticism that we get from our surrounding people or doubting our capabilities, many students will not come out. So the only suggestion I would like to give is come out of the fear of criticism and don't doubt your capabilities. That's it.
I thought you would take a lot of time to answer this question, but you have summed up in such a nice beautiful words. I couldn't ask you more. For right now we do not have any audience questions for you, but if we have any, I like to take it again. Over to you, Akatya. I
Thank you.
think
Thank you, sir. So we have Vivek sir with us back. Hello, sir. So my last question, which I asked you, was that as many medical students find it extremely difficult, as how to begin with research, what would be your advice to the budding researchers? And can you please share your experience?
Yeah, I'm sorry for the disconnection, and I'm really apologize for that. So basically, I was where I was that I mean that time where I left.
So you were talking about how you were so new to all the case reports everyone was presenting, and you were like new to this entire concept.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I was when I was beginning, I never thought that I could be doing this kind of research, or I would be involving in the research, because I was very new in that time. So it was not possible to embark on this journey if I was not attending the BMJ elective program in India. In the BMJ elective program, which is run by my mentor, Professor Dr. Rakesh Vishwas. He was a deputy editor of BMJ case reports. He was mentoring me. Under him, I was not intending to write case reports, but he was just excellently introducing me to the patients and how I can see their problems. So basically, when we are talking about the research, that how one can start their research journey, they should, as a medical student, they should put their interest on the patient. So when we put our interest on the patient, we can understand the problems, the real problems. Because if we are not focusing on the patients, we cannot start our research. And our aim for the research is a systemic inquiry to add a new knowledge to the database and the evidence base, and that can only be done if we focus on a patient. So throughout the elective program, I was every day I was every day, 24 hour time, 24 hours, 7 days, I was in the OPD, in the wards and emergency room. I was attending all the patients, and in addition to that, I was visiting the patient's home, and I was trying to understand their social and economical conditions, which is affecting their health conditions. So from there, I was trying to get the broader overview that how the research, what research looks like, and how this research, if I'm doing research, how can that help those patients. So initially, during that elective program, I have written a case report, which was my which was my beginning, and that was about the patient of Chilaiditi syndrome, and I have written it and published it already. So that is the moment when I've written the case report, I was very energized, and that time I was not able to write anything. And I was not. Because I was a very new one in this journey. So my mentor taught me and introduced me to how to write it, how to think through the process, and how to publish it. So having been said, so in the beginning of journey, you need a challenging mentor, the mentor who will challenge you to go forward and to understand the process. Rather than spoon feeding you, they should teach you the principles that you follow when you are doing research. So that is the moment I started their journey, and as I move forward, I tried to explore more and more opportunities, and I got connected with more researchers around India. So I went to PGI Chandigarh, and the PGI Chandigarh, I participated in more neurological research, endocrine research, and 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 some yoga kind of research, and I published some more kind of research from there. So here I was in PG in BN's elective program. I learned how to learn to capture the patient problems, and in PGI Chandigarh, I tried to understand how to do research, how to do other kind of research, like cross-sectional study or other clinical trials or other kind of systematic reviews. So those kind of exposures helped me to grow slow by slow. So basically, what happens in this research journey, when you are doing research, the first step a student should adopt this to find the research topic, and when a student is to find the research topic, they must understand the patient's problem, as I said already. So a guide can help you in the process, and if you can share the frequent problems in your day-to-day workflow with your mentor while you are seeing the patients, they can guide you how we can convert this into a research question, and how can you start design it and can take it forward. So we need to ensure that your research topic selection contains a proper problem statement, study design, and expected outcomes, and finally a title which reflects all the patient's problems. And it can serve as a tool to solve the patient's problem that you encounter in your regular workflow. And when you do the research and get the study findings, you can publish it in your in journal. And but in the process, we need to be ethical and and need to be ethical and never compromise the ethics of this. So basically, when someone is doing research, the first thing is finding a very good research mentor who can guide you and challenge you to understand the problem and can accept the challenges. And the second thing is you need to be approachable. I mean, you need to seek out opportunities, and you need to reach out to people around the world, because there are so many mentors around the world who are there to help people. But the problem is we are not approaching them. So the medical students should approach them and find opportunities, because as Faisal was saying, we need to approach people and can gain some soft, and at the same time we need to learn the soft skill, so we can I mean the yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, Vivek, you're audible.
What happens? So the first question which you asked, how the students can start their research. The students can start their research by 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 having a good mentor and communicating with people around the world, so they can guide through the research. And also that in overseas there are some overseas there are some summer voluntary opportunities, so summer research opportunities that students can acquire. So the problem in our part of the world is our medical education is so packed up that we cannot have enough time to reach out and can spare time to do research. That is a very big problem, that student cannot go into research. And another thing is finding a good mentor is a difficult task. So I think until and unless we get a good mentor, we should try to search for a good mentor.
Thank you so much, sir. So as you said, that the most important thing is to have a good mentor to guide you and to bring you to expose you to this research field. And I think that makes so much sense, that if you don't have a good mentor, you don't know where to start from, and if your base is not strong, the foundation gets weaker anyways. Moving on to the next question, we have, so, sir, as you have published over 25 research articles, could you brief the students on the publishing process and the obstacles you faced from your so that our students could benefit from?
Yes, thank you for the question. And as I said earlier, that the publishing process starts from the research question that we ask at the beginning. So as we ask the research question, and the next step is to find the answer. Now, how shall I find the answer? To a good study design, and at the same time your hard work. So when you are when you are asking a research question, and you are trying to find the answer, and as soon as you get the findings of your study, the next step is whether you can publish it or not. If you are trying to publish it, and if you think your findings can add value to the current evidence base, then you can go on and publish in the different kind of research journals. So basically, when we have determined that my finding can add to the research, evidence base, the next step would be to publish it, to write it. So we start writing the first draft, and after finishing the drafting, we try to send it to the journal. So before that, when I'm writing, I need to think. I have to acquire some skills to write it, because now I have studied it and I have analyzed the data. But the next step would be I need to present it like a story, like a movie. But how did, like in a study paper, in a research paper, we have an introduction, method section, discussion, and conclusion and reference. So the method section is like how the director conducted how the director is conducting the movie, and the trailer is the introduction of the research, and the discussion is how the movie is progressing. So what is your research question, what was your finding, that needs to be discussed and interpreted in the discussion section. So all these things you can only learn before writing it. You have to increase your skills for writing, and for improving your writing skill, you have to keep on writing. No matter whatever you do, you have to keep on writing. You can publish, you can write your experiences in the blog. You can write anything in the social media. So you have to increase your writing. You have to express yourself. So once you write a paper, the next step would be to find a journal. In the publication process, finding a good journal is very important thing, because there are tons of journals in the world that there are tons of journals in the world that can that there are if you are submitting there randomly, they may reject it. And you may find that you may be wondering that I have done a lot of hard work, but still I am not able to publish it. So getting a good journal is very important. So how do I do that? So when I'm looking for a journal, the good thing is, the important thing is whether my papers, goals, and aims and objectives are matching the aims and objectives of the journal. If that is matching, the next question should be if the journal is accepting my if the paper, if the study what I've done is if the similar study has been published in the journal or not. If my finding is unique and the journal matches my aims and objectives, then I need to find whether the journal has any kind of what is the impact factor of the journal, whether the journal is indexed or not, and in the journal, and also if there are any publishing fees or not. Because in current research world, one of the barrier to research is in the journal article processing fee. If you are a medical student, you may not have any enough fund. You just have started your research journey and you want to publish your research. So the journal, maybe there are some journals which are charging like $3,000 or $2,000. So you cannot submit there as a medical student. Even $100 is a very big amount for a medical student in our part of the world. So basically, so yeah, a good journal selection is very important. And when you select the journal, then there are certain parameters that you look for. Whether the journal review process is, how much time it takes for the journal to review it, and and how much time it takes for the revision to come, and how much they charge, whether they're open access or not. By open access, it means if I'm publishing it there, everyone can read without any subscription. And if it is a closed access journal, then if you are publishing there, it means you have to pay. Someone needs to pay for your article. It means your findings are not reaching out to the maximum people. So that is an also important factor. So once you decide that you have got the right journal, the next step would be to learn that how the journal functions. So once you write an article and send it to a journal which is suitable to your article, and it satisfies your goals and aims and objectives, the next step would be the journal editor then send it for peer review process. So you have to be familiar with the peer review process also. So, so peer review process is basically when you write an article, the peer reviewers, there are several volunteer peer reviewers which are unpaid mostly. So they review your article and send you some review comments, so you can work on that. So this is a this is a very good learning experience. When you are submitting it, and the peer reviewers are sending their critiques to your on your research paper, you can learn what was a mistake and what more you can do in your research. So so in the process, it improves your research article, and at the same time, it improves your learning outcomes. So once you revise it according to the peer review comments, you send it back to the journal, and the journal that then re-evaluate it, and the reviewers will re-review it. So they think if it is publishable or not. In most of the cases, they reject it. In medical students, unfortunately, sometimes what happens, if you are new in the journey, it happens that you are getting more frequent rejections. But as you move forward, you will see you will be able to answer more correctly and more. You can defend the reviewer questions in a more positive way. So so finally, even if your articles are getting rejected, even if articles are getting rejected, but still you will be able to publish it. But before that, you have to accept the failures, because in initial times, when when I published my first case report, it was rejected 5 times before it got published. So basically, because of that rejections, I learned the peer review process, because every time they were sending me the rejections, I was learning what was my mistakes and what more I need to do in my future publishing process. So that is a good thing, because medical students get frustrated because when you get rejections in our research paper. So we need to hold the courage to submit one of the in another journal if someone is rejecting it. So basically, once the journal is, for example, I have submitted the article to a journal and that got rejected. Then my next option will be I will be submitting in a new journal, and the new journal will undertake the same process. And and it may be this time they may get it accepted. So after it gets accepted, the next step would be uh, they will send you back for a proofreading. I'm just trying to explain shortly the publication process, the bits of publication process, which is taken from starting from the research question and analyzing it, and then publishing and submitting it to the journal. And what journal is doing before it is getting published in the journal. So once they send you for proofreading, basically they are sending you for minor corrections. If you have any corrections, so you can send them, and they can so any errors which is left, they can you can correct it before publishing. So once you do that, the journal will take like 15 to 20 days to publish it. But the entire process from submission to the acceptance to publishing it may take 3 to 6 months, and even it may takes 1 year also. So basically, for example, if you are starting, if you have started a research, that may, for example, you have started your research in 2018, and that may get accepted in 2019 and may get published in 2020 January. So it may take like 1 year, and even in for some journal which has a faster peer review process, they can they can publish it even within 3 months to 6 months. It depends on the journal. But what I will finish this question, the answer of this question, by saying about the pediatric journal. Well, we are excited as a medical student. We have a lot of expectations. We are so much concerned about our career, and in the process we are so frustrated to publish it, because when we are applying for a scholarship or we are going for a residency program, when we are going for residency program, they request a research paper. So in that frustration process, in the frustration process, we got trapped into the pediatric journal. So pediatric journal is basically, they charge you, and they always email you that we can publish your research within 2 days or 3 days or 5 days, and they can publish without even peer review. They just simply ask you, we have to pay us $100 or $50 or even 500 $300. So they will publish your research within 3 or 4 days. But that will give a very bad impression in your career. If a person who is reviewing your research in your CV, if they find that you are publishing your research in a pediatric journal, then that will be a very red flag in your career. So be aware of that and maintain the research ethics and also the publication ethics. In the publication ethics, another important thing is the plagiarism. Plagiarism is very important thing, which is like we are copying others' work without citing them and without changing their sentence. So that is very important thing. Sorry, I took a long time, I think.
Thank you so much, sir. It was such an detailed description of the entire process and your journey. I think there were so many facts which we didn't know that about open access and closed access journals, and I think our audience have received so much from your end. So moving on to the third question, which is a very asked question, is that could you please share your journey with first aid?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. This is a very exciting question for me, because whatever I have done, the most important thing and the most exciting, the most exciting work that I have done and which I am proud of is working for first aid. First aid is basically called a Bible for USMLE Step 1. Everybody in the everybody in the world who is preparing for USMLE will ultimately land up studying for this first aid. So the journey started when I started my preparing for USMLE. It started back in my first year. In first year, I was trying to understand the different concepts, but the difficulty in the concepts and the inconcise medical content in the books was making me so struggle to learn these concepts, that I was looking at so many videos, so many books. At that time, there was no such videos, online videos. I was dependent on the multiple books. So that time I got introduced to USMLE, and as I prepared more and more about the USMLE, I was so at that time I was introduced with the first aid book. And the first aid book was very interestingly written, that it is so concise and it incorporates all the high yield content that are most important for the step 1 exam. I was as amazed that such a very good book, which I wish I could get it in the first year. So from that moment of time, I thought that I will be an author in that book. How can I be author? But I could not straightforward go into that authorship of the first aid. So initially, when I applied for, they have a website called USMLE RX. In that program, I applied. They have a program. They have a application for being an author of that USMLE RX. So when I applied there, I never thought I will be accepted in that in their project. But somehow when I applied there, after 6 months, I got a suddenly I got an invitation that you are accepted to join our team of USMLE RX question man. So I started with the USMLE RX question man for first aid before joining the first aid. So as I was working for the USMLE RX question man, so due to my performance and also my dedication toward the work, and slowly as I understood their process, learned question writing, develop the USMLE question writing process, I was more it was more fascinating toward me, because the most important part of this first aid thing and the ASML RX thing is whatever you are contributing is greatly is going to help the medical students. Whoever whatever you are writing, that is going to help the medical students always. For example, you have prepared an algorithm or you prepared a table, and imagine that whatever you have written that will be read by 40,000 or 50,000 medical students all around the world. So that is the most driving force that you are working more hard for the book. So when I was working for the QMAX, I got promoted to work for the first aid for the USML Step 1. And then this is my third year hat trick that I'm working for the first aid. I've worked on the 2019 version, 2020, and 2000, and this time I'm working for 2021. So, so I'm working with the amazing team of authors, editors, and the faculty, and this is such an amazing experience. I can say that is the most thing I'm so glad to talk about. And I
Thank you
will
so much.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Please continue. Please
Yeah,
continue.
I will encourage every medical student to always try seek opportunities that will improve the medical education. Because we have our obligation to help the medical students because we are a medical student, so we know how it looks like or how it feels to be a medical student, how it feels to be deprived as a medical student. So our goal should be to give back to this community, to other medical students, the physicians in training in future.
I absolutely agree, sir. Thank you so much for this amazing, interesting journey. And with this, I have my last question for you, which is it's almost the same, such as first aid. But here, I would want to know that, if you could please share your experience working on various medical education projects, such as Osmosis, Lecturio, and USMD RX question bank.
Yes, thank you for the question. It starts from the last point which I made that as a medical student, I mean, for example, in my first year, I was struggling to learn the different concepts, and the concepts which we learn was like rote memorization. So rote memorization was never a cup of tea for me. So I don't memorize things, and I don't like it. So when I was I mean when I was studying for USMLE, I thought that their question patterns are more toward the critical thinking, and 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 that gives you a stimulation to think through the clinical scenarios to answer a particular problem. So it basically makes you a critical thinker and a problem solver. So from that point of time, I thought that okay, it's fine. It is also going to help patients. So another thing, one of the trait I have is I try to approach people, and I told you earlier that try to look for shorter opportunity. As Faisal was saying, that was a very powerful thing. And if you want to progress in your career, always look for shorter opportunities. I never started to publish 25 research papers. I never started with first aid, and I now never started with all these question means. But I slowly approached people and expressed my interest, and I offered them how can I help them or how can they help me. So so I started with the USML RX question bank. So when I was working for them, I got the skills to make a high quality step on questions. And at the same time, I thought that okay, it was a project based. Actually, basically, USML RX was a project based program. So it runs for 3 to 6 months. Then the project finishes. So after finishing it, I thought that why not apply for other programs because I have the skills and I may contribute to some other projects also. So I tried to approach Osmosis and Lecturio and some other programs also. So somehow, when I approached them, I got selected and worked for them. And throughout this process, it was not my personal achievement. Whenever I was working, it improves my skills and thinking. So whenever you are working for any short projects or shorter opportunities, it gradually increases your skills, and tomorrow you will feel more empowered, and at the day after 3 months you will feel more empowered. So gradually your thinking, your approach, and your skills will be improving. And I think that is the most important thing is reaching out to people. I think at the end, I will say that the most important thing is reaching out to people and find shorter opportunities. Never underestimate any opportunities that you will come across. I started with a conference, small conference in my medical college like this. In that conference, as I told you initially, I heard the case report term from that conference only. If I was not joining that conference, I would never be introduced to that case report thing. So I think networking, collaborating with people, finding a good mentor, and challenging yourself and always be the best person of yourself. Try to be the best version of yourself. Never compare yourself to others. So because everyone has a different journey, and not everyone will reach to their destination at the same time. So we should always follow our own intentions, and our intentions will direct us to reach to our journey, our goals and objectives.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was really motivating, and I think all our students, all our viewers are going to make sure that they follow the mantra which we have given them. Thank you so much. Over to you, Madhav sir.
Yeah, I just had a question. Nicole, you are a MD PhD student, and Vivek has explained, a lot about research and, the publication process and all. And I suppose, I mean, would you accept with all of his views, or do you want to share anything more on that aspect,
I think
Nicole?
his views are. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I think Vivek's like his experience is very impressive, and he shared a lot of information with us. I think he like mostly been through all aspects of the publication process and so on. So what I would like to include is maybe to emphasize the research, the journal, to choose the journal you are publishing at, like to be careful with predatory journals and journals that are not really serious. I think he mentioned something of that, but I think this is very important for us that are beginners, like students. So always talk with your advisor to make sure you're choosing a serious journal and making the best decision for your hardworking research. I
Yeah,
think this is.
Nicole, I also want to ask you something more on that. So, when I was actually looking at your profile and wanted to invite you here, I saw that you had a lot of systematic reviews and the comments on the systematic reviews, especially Cochrane systematic reviews, if I'm not wrong. So, I mean, can you share those insights? Because Vivek has mostly shared about case reports and observational studies, but not on the aspect of systematic reviews. Can you share on that aspect?
Yeah, so the Cochrane Brazil Center, it's very intimately related to my university. So that's why we have the opportunity to work closely with Cochrane. So I had the chance to be at their Cochrane summits and so on over the last year. So they have an impressive work. They are really, really high quality research, and they have a very tough research, a very tough. Uh, their research is very serious. So that's why I strongly recommend everybody to look at their website and their database. So and especially on systematic reviews, I'm a huge fan. So I'm from basic science right now, but because of my PhD, but I've always been a real huge fan of systematic reviews. I think especially for decision making and like real life for physicians, it's a very important thing to understand how systematic reviews are done and what are their importance. I mean, you have clinical trials, you have case reports, you have cohorts, you have many study designs. They are really important as well. But as we all know, we have of scientific articles available right now for everybody. So how do you know which one is good, which one is bad? How can we put this all together? And this is where the systematic reviews come. And this is where they are needed. They summarize and they put together all this research in a specific topic, and they also they do not only put them all together, but they also evaluate systematically in their quality. So this is strongly very important for decision making. So I strongly recommend to all of you to check Cochrane's website and Cochrane database.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for answering my questions so patiently. I think we have come to the end of the session. But before ending of the session, I would like to hand over the mic to Daniel Rivers, who is a representative of AMO opportunities, and he would like to present to us about AMO opportunities. Daniel, over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, very interested discussion and very happy to be a part of this, and many heavyweights here. So congratulations to all of you on kind of all your work and especially all the information on research. So our organization started almost a decade ago to kind of help international medical students, recent graduates, and doctors to come to the United States to complete clinical rotations. We've grown quite a bit since then, and we now partner with more than 100 medical schools worldwide, many in India and Brazil. I was actually in Brazil visiting with the Sao Paulo Medical Students Association when the COVID outbreak began. That was at the end of February. My segment here will be fairly short. It's not meant to be an advertisement. We simply just offer more than 200 clinical sites for rotations, research. And as I said, we've expanded quite a bit. So medical students in the United States, as well as around the world, have had a lot of difficulty, obviously, over the last 6 months or so, getting their clinicals completed. Many hospitals are closed to students. So we did open 35 programs to virtual rotations that various medical schools around the world are accepting for elective credit. Maybe I could share my screen really quickly. So we created a platform, and we generally work with the deans of medical schools to ensure curriculum requirements are met for each particular country. We do offer more than kind of 70 specialties, including research in the US and the UK. And programs are right now right around 242 open programs each month. Although as the COVID pandemic dies down or there is a vaccine, that number will go back up to our more than 500 clinical sites. There are many rotation types. Right now, we call the virtual rotations online telehealth. That name came about at the beginning of the pandemic. It's since shifted a bit, so we will be updating that to virtual rotations. But on that, there are approximately 35 programs available, including programs with Stanford and Harvard, and all sorts of programs, all in kind of one marketplace. I'm sure some of you out there have questions about the U.S. residency match. I know the USMLE has come up a few times. I'm very proud to say that in the United States, we had the highest match rate ever in 30 years at the beginning of this year at 61.1%. Indian doctors compose a large percentage of the workforce, the doctors here in the US, Indian medical school graduates. There is kind of a clear pathway to becoming a doctor in the US. And a lot has been disrupted by COVID. One thing that's happened is that, you can obviously take the USMLE exam from your home country, but you can also now attend clinical rotations virtually to get your letters of recommendation. And this year, and we expect next year as well, most residency interviews will be conducted online. So there's a lot of cost saving there in regards to travel and things like that. With more than 200 clinical sites, I've spoken, I'm constantly speaking with residency directors in the US, the UK, and just finding out the latest in in what's going to happen next. And, you know, it's all a bit new, right, for everyone in the world. And so, you know, residency directors are being a bit flexible with what types of experience to get. I know the conversation today has been a lot focused on research, but really, if you do want to apply for residency in the US, they're looking for kind of well-rounded. So anything you can do, even in your home city, to volunteer and get out there, participate in groups like AMSA or IFMSA or this group here, any, you know, conferences you can attend virtually. All these things go into how you answer questions during the residency interviews. I won't get too much into our programs now because I know the group here will share a link to create an account, as well as kind of a discount code for everyone out there. But if you have questions, you know, we're always open to taking questions. I'll leave it there unless there's any questions for me now, but I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for such a crisp presentation. I would be handing over the mic to Rahul.
So seems like we have come to an end of such an amazing panel discussion. I would love to thank all the audience members and delegates for joining in, and I hope you guys had a great time and enjoyed it. I would once again like to thank our panelists, that is Faizal sir, Nicole ma'am, Vivek sir and Brahmaramba ma'am, for taking out time from their busy schedule for us and sharing their valuable viewpoints and knowledge with us. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot, ma'am.